Communications director posted a link this week accusing Rubio of disrespecting the Bible. That was false. Question, do you take personal responsibility? This was your campaign, except for the super PAC. Do you take personal responsibility for this series of incidents, and what does it say about the culture of the campaign you're running?
Man. Wow!
Kaboom!
That was just, you know what? You could just drop the mic right there and walk away. You don't even have to hear the answer. You don't even have to hear the answer. Oh.
Ted Cruz should have dropped the mic and walk away. Is it? Come back. Come back. Hey.
Well, a lot of people do that. They pull the little thing off their neck, the little microphone that's on their lapel.
Yeah.
And they yank it off. And they're like, you know what? I don't have to hear this from you.
Right. Okay, now this sound clip goes for almost 2 minutes. I need you to hear the back and forth between Chris and Cruz just to kind of get a sense. And I know Cruz is frustrated right now because I know he knows what he believes is right and honest.
Yeah, let me rephrase what he asked. He said, it's been a proven fact that your campaign is full of a bunch of lying liars. Does this reflect your personal character?
And it was an attack. There's no question. It was an aggressive, a very aggressive question. There's no doubt about that. He's losing.
Do the nuts fall far from the tree? Is what they were asking.
Whoa,
that's what they're asking.
So he's losing in a lot of states. He's not winning in some states. Rubio's beating him in states, and Trump's beating all of them in most states. Okay, so he's got to be frustrated. He's running a classic campaign. And when I say classic, he is running a campaign according to all the rules of running a campaign.
So pretty much exactly the way everybody's done it for like the past 20 years maybe.
Correct.
Okay.
And I think, honestly, he probably goes in the back room and with the guys having a beer and say, man, how am I losing to this idiot?
Which one?
Trump.
Oh, because, I mean, you said he was trailing Rubio in some places.
He might not even acknowledge that. That would be so hard to even acknowledge that you're losing to Rubio. Right. So, okay. All right. So now here's his response. And at the very end, when it's over, I left the end in there because you got to hear it and you tell me what you think about it.
All right.
Chris, every accusation you raised there is incorrect. I appreciate your reading the Donald Trump attack file on that.
Come on, sir.
Let me tell you, our campaign has been from the highest...
Wait a minute, sir.
Chris,
You personally apologized to Ben Carson on a debate stage. You fired your communications director.
Chris,
don't say the file on our part, sir.
Chris, please don't interrupt me. Our campaign from the beginning.
Please don't say that. Accuse me of something I didn't do.
Go ahead, Chris. Let me know when I'm allowed to answer.
Well, I don't accuse me of doing something.
Let me know when I'm allowed to answer.
Two of those things. You apologized for one, and you fired your communications director. Don't say this is the Oppo file.
Chris, our campaign from the beginning has been the highest level of integrity. When others have engaged in personal attacks and insults, we don't respond in kind. And, you know, it was striking. You just had Donald Trump on the air. You didn't ask him about the fact that he sent out a fabricated quote from Tom Coburn impugning my integrity. Senator Coburn came out and said it was an utter fabrication, and yet Donald continued repeating what he knew to be false. You didn't ask Donald Trump about the robocalls that went out from a white supremacist group supporting Donald Trump, telling people do not vote
Wait
for
a
Cuban.
minute.
I'll get to that.
Wait a minute.
We got that on.
There's a tweet. Somebody. Oh no, it was on Facebook. Somebody put out. And oh my gosh, I should find that and read my response to it. This guy is a normal, everyday guy, family man. He gets up every morning, goes to work, 9 to 5 job. He comes home and kisses the dog and beats the wife. All the above, right?
Right.
And he writes this thing. He shared a link to an article that is by a total leftist rag, saying that the KKK has just come out and not only endorsed Trump, but actually said he's one of us. Yes. So he goes on and puts a comment with his share and says, man, I'll tell you what, I really like Trump and I really like to vote for him, but he's got to come out and say something about this and respond to people like the KKK endorsing? Because this is what he said. He said, I'm having trouble even. I'm actually a little worried about admitting to my coworkers at work, to my family, and to my friends and all this that I support him. He's got to come out and make a statement about this. And I ended up saying, "Whoa, hold your horses! You cannot be." You
can't fall down that rabbit hole.
You're
That's
going
like
about
saying all those
wrong.
people in Sandy Hook was a lie too. Okay, so we will. That is a whole another article with the KKK and Trump. We'll get to that right after we finish up with Cruz.
Vote for Donald Trump. You know, when it comes to telling the truth and not telling the truth, you didn't ask Donald Trump about the fact that in the last debate, I asked him, true or false, you support socialized medicine, the government paying for your health care. He said false, and it's directly contrary to what he said for 20 years on the record. Listen, Chris, the facts matter. I understand that there are folks that don't want to focus on the facts, but listen, the voters care about the truth. They care about Donald Trump's record of giving it.
Senator Cruz, we're flat out of time. First of all, I don't think anybody's going to think I did an easy interview with Donald Trump. I asked him about plenty of things. If you want to ask him those questions, guess what? You'll get the opportunity of the Fox debate on Thursday. Thank you. Thanks for making time for us on this very busy weekend, sir. Up next, Senator.
He thanked him for being there.
And then there was a moment of silence.
It went dead.
Was he looking at the camera still, or had he already left?
No, they were looking dead at each other.
Wait, were they in person, or is this one of them teleconferences?
It's teleconference.
Oh, okay. Wow, that is... Fox News has generally been supporting the establishment. So before Jeb got out, it was all about Jeb.
Well, but
now I think it's Rubio.
Mike Wallace has always been...
Oh, he's fair. He's fair.
And that's who this was. And his dad...
his question was very, very... it's almost like that Megyn Kelly question to Trump, which I approved of the question. I just didn't approve that they had to have Megyn Kelly ask it. I think another man should have asked that.
And then she got emotionally charged about the question.
Yeah, it made it look like she was verifying the war on women, which that was a blunder on Fox's part.
Her words were the war on women.
But she hold on, let's not take it out of context.
No, the way she worded the question was that she believed that there is a war on women.
She called it the Democrats accusing Republicans of having a war on women. So she took herself out of it and said it was the Democrats who are accusing Republicans. How do you answer to these charges
about the war on women?
About the right. I get it. It definitely looked like she was verifying the war on women, but it was a fair question in this case with Cruz. This was a very fair question, and the way he answered it was kind of dishonest. He came back and said, we've run the most honest and honorable and whatever campaign. And it's like, whoa.
Sorry, Doc. We already know that you already did what you did. Those flyers.
He didn't answer the question either.
No.
The question was, is this a reflection on your own character? And he never answered. He just said, you know what? I got a lot of people in my organization, and they all have their own views and all that, and sometimes some of them go astray, and when that happens, I got to deal with them, and I did. That's all he's got to say.
And there's an official complaint filed with the IG in the state of Texas on Cruz's. We talked about this. Cruz's mailers that he sent out. It says it's an actual check.
Yeah, and I don't even think that was in the list of things.
That would have been number 5.
Yeah, so there were a whole bunch of things that Chris Wallace listed, and that wasn't even one of them, right there.
And then in New Hampshire, they were calling people on the do not call list, which is a violation of New Hampshire law.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You don't call people on the do not call list.
Well, there you go.
So...
Wow. So
sorry, bro.
Yeah, the KKK thing. So here's what was posted on Facebook. It's a New York Daily News rips Donald Trump over David Duke support. David Duke, I think, is the president of the KKK or ex-KKK leader.
Okay, David Duke, and
he's one of the Duke boys.
Yeah, I know this guy.
Oh, you know him
his
personally?
name. because of the 80s.
Oh, okay. The name does sound familiar to me, but I don't know.
And for whatever reason, something had happened at a point in time in my life where it was so big that it kind of stuck with you. Kind of like Jeffrey Dahmer out of Chicago. I mean, that just stuck. I'll always know who Jeffrey Dahmer is.
Right. Because it happened then, yeah.
Right. Well, something big happened with David Duke back in the day. I think he was even running for president.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Right. And all the shenanigans that he pulled, but he was the leader of the KKK at the time. I don't know if he still is. But I know the name, and if they threw the name out, I'd know
David Duke. Right. He supports Trump, and the New York Daily News is ripping Trump over it. It says the ex-KKK leader says, "Vote for Donald. He's just like us." And this article was shared by a guy, happens to be a black guy, but whatever, it doesn't matter. It could be a Democrat or just it could be a Cruz supporter.
Right.
And he just wrote, "Spread this." And I'm sure a bunch of people saw it and said, well, let's share it and say, spread this to everybody, and let's just make it viral. So a Trump supporter wrote, "What is Trump going to do to address the blatant racism that follows his campaign?" So he's not accusing Trump or his campaign of being racism. He's accusing racism following it. Okay, so then he goes on and says, "It's going to be a short-lived victory unless he makes his branding more universal. I am available to help." So this is a guy actually asking to volunteer for the Trump organization. And then he goes on saying, "It's harder by the second to support. My own friends and family are turning on me." Or it's harder by the second to be a supporter. "My own friends and family are turning on me, but I want to, but I want to be a solution. You have to realize that if he doesn't address this accordingly, the Democrats will win the White House." That's what he said. And I just was like, oh, hell no. So here's my response. It's all smoke and mirrors.
Right.
Trump has no control over who supports him, nor do they have control over him simply by endorsing him. Democrats and GOP rivals are dishonestly using it as a sleazy tool to make him look guilty by association. This then makes Trump supporters feel like they are guilty by association. It's all a trick. Everyone knows that Trump has never said or advocated for anything racist. Securing our country's borders is not racist. Mexico is not a race. It's a foreign country. They have the right to sovereignty just as we do. The key is courage to stand up against these underhanded tactics. It sounds like you are wavering. This is what I'm saying to this guy. If you don't like if you like the idea of a Trump presidency, don't waver. Don't run and hide. Recognize their BS and have the courage to call them out on their dishonesty. The KKK and the pro-Confederates of South Carolina, which was last week, they endorsed Trump, and the media used the pro-Confederate group with the big orange flags in the background. They used it to try to bash Trump. But anyway, the pro-Confederates of South Carolina endorse someone every election. The KKK endorses somebody every election. If you watch, the media will track down a neo-Nazi group and demand that they endorse Trump. The liberal press use it as a weapon. It only works if you let it be done. Don't let it become an effective weapon for them. It's all in your head, and they know it. I've seen them do this before. The Democrats and liberal media lied about Tea Party people who were spitting on black congressmen and using the N-word. That's what they said. By the time it was figured out that this was completely made up, the damage was done. The Tea Party never recovered from that. The conservative grassroots movement was stopped dead in its tracks. And now, 6 years later, we're just now rebounding from that lie. Don't let this happen again. Many of the most outrageous behavior is committed by Democrat operatives who are acting on behalf of conservatives in order to tarnish their reputation. Have you seen this? You could have a big group of, let's say, Trump supporters. Right. A black congressman walks out and somebody spits on him and calls him the N-word. You may find out later That guy was just a Democrat.
Wait, in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, he was a Democrat. He was there in order to tarnish the conservatives that are there assembling.